This video is sponsored by Serious Readers, the lighting company. I've been using their lights now for around 6 months and now use their lamps all of my painting and hobby projects. So as well as the adjustable neck on this, you've also got the head which can rotate around like so, and there's also a ball joint there so you can adjust the light to whichever way you want it to go. So with the lamp, it's adjustable beam. There's a dimmer here, so I can take the lighting down or I can turn it right up, so that's fully controllable. You can also adjust the beam here by turning this and go for wider or narrower spread on the light beam. Then the light is matched to true daylight using the LED daylight wavelength technology. So the great thing about this is whatever you're painting, it's coming through as daylight. It's nice and crisp and clear for your painting, and also finer detail. So recently I've been working on my Adeptus Mechanicus, rebasing and painting up new units for the army. But these lights are fantastic, just figuring that daylight technology. So a true reflection on the colours, fantastic for painting finer detail. No strain on the eyes here, that's the great thing about these lights. On top of that, you've got low heat coming off these because it is LED technology, and low energy use on them as well. So for all your hobby needs, you do need a decent lighting setup. So I'd recommend the Serious Readers lights. These lights are built here in the UK. They come with a 30-day free trial and also a 5-year warranty, and that includes the bulbs as well. So I'll put a link for these lamps in the video description below. And then when you make your purchase, use the code STRIKE7, and that's for any of the lights, the classic light, the Alex light, and the high definition light. And when you use that code, you'll receive a second lamp here. So it's this one here that you can see on the left hand side. So then you'll have the perfect setup for painting, just the cross beam of the two lamps for all of your painting and hobby needs. So check out the link in the video description below. Happy painting and enjoy the video. Right, welcome to this complete army video. It's for the Adeptus Mechanicus. This is an army that I'd shelved for a while, but I've come back to them. I've actually rebased the whole army, restructured it, and introducing some new unit ideas and so on. So in this video, it's 2,000 points, latest points adjustments and so on for Adeptus Mechanicus. So you're free to copy this list if you wish, try it out. You can take elements from it. Do leave your comments and feedback if you want to make suggestions and changes, big or small. That'd be great to see that feedback in the comments section. So for Adeptus Mechanicus, I don't know, some armies have got like a definite plan with them. Space Wolves, which we've just done a video for, it's to go out for the attack. Tau is manoeuvre and firepower. The Adeptus Mechanicus, my army seems to be a mixture of all different things going on. So you've got definitely got a fire base of units, which I think is very, very important for this list. Also got fast manoeuvrable units around the board, and then also definitely got some close combat elements as well. So perhaps it's like a firepower base, and then protecting that with counterpunch and melee type units, I guess would be the theme. So maybe once I'm getting more and more games with these, I'll start to get a stronger idea of the way the list operates. But for 9th edition, you need to build an army that's able to do a whole lot of things. So decent firepower, yes. You definitely need close combat stuff if those kind of units are available. Fast manoeuvrability, speed, I'm increasingly seen as a key issue as well for 9th edition, to be able to move around the table, grab objectives swiftly. So I've brought a new unit in to help do that. But for Ad Mech now, when their models first came out, it was a brilliant range, but now they've been expanded. There's extra units, so there's there's a very wide variety of models available for this specific faction. So that's great to see. Lots and lots of options. So, talked about the theme. What we'll do is I'll show you my new base that I've done, a bit of hobby time, chance to take a look at some of the models and to zoom in and have a look. So I've gone for the classic Mars colour scheme. My basing previously was the grey It kind of colours my sort of standard basing across all my armies. I'm trying to get away from that now and to go for new different types of basing and so on. So just scrape them all down. It was a sand-like coating, so that wasn't too labour intensive. And then I've actually started using the technical paints from Games Workshop. And then I've still flocked them, but gone for more of a sort of a dead grass kind of effect with these. So I think it complements the red quite nicely. And some units with the neon blue colours complements that quite nicely. It pops out nicely against the basing, that colour just there. So then the grass is 2 tones of flock going on, and then some grass tufts as well, just to really mix it up. So this is one of the Infiltrators. The sculpts are very fine, similar to Dracari, lots of intricate pieces on them, so they are quite prone to damage and so on, so you do need to look after them. But you know, if you want something a little bit different to Astra Militarum and Space Marines, then go for Adeptus Mechanicus, because they're way different, but you can still get a very loyal Imperial army, and you don't have to go down the route of Space Marines or Astra Militarum. Ad Mech is a great option for sure. An amazing array of units now, and a potent enough codex. So scraping that all down, and then to blend them into the basing nicely, I took Steel Legion Drab is the colour which I highlighted the base with, and then just dry brushed it a little bit around the feet and around the hem of the garments here, just to add a bit more realism. So look like they really belong on the basing. So it's not a full-on Forge World Martian red, but it's like more of a mud battlefield brown kind of effect on those. Now you got Skitarii Rangers, like so. I've rebased the entire collection now, so happy enough with how they've come out. There's the Tech Priest Enginseers, quite nice on the new basing. Then Cult Mechanicus stuff, so it's Kataphron Breacher. Rustalkers. See, look, these fine detail plastic parts they do need. And I think this sword has snapped in the past. You can see a little bit of a bend on it. They're very, very finely detailed, so they really are worth looking after. But the upside of that is you get these very intricate models. So going up in scale, I'm only going to show you a little bit here because there's so many models that are available. I'll show you a little bit of the basings, quite well for the larger models. You see the 2 tones of flock and the longer tufts being used as well. And from the basing previously, I kept all the Space Marine accessories that were on here. Those have all been kept. So rebasing an army, it really does revamp and breathe new life into a force. You can rebase it and it just gives you a completely different look. So I'm quite happy how this has come out. And then you've got these Dune Crawlers here, one of my favourite units. They're just so different to the usual, tracked tanks and so on. And for these, from like a GIF animation that I saw on Instagram, which had these fighting, but also these huge banners, these sort of Japanese samurai kind of tall banners. So I made these out of silver steel, and then just a paper banner printed out, and then some Ad Mech transfers stuck on top. In fact, there is a tutorial for that on the channel as banners, Ad Mech banners. If you search for that on the channel, you'll find it. So how to create those, and that's just magnetised and just goes on top there. But it just really sort of shows these off. I'm really happy how these banners have turned out. And then you should see a full tutorial for painting these on the channel as well, and then also a tutorial for, I think it's for painting these guys here, the Vanguard for the Skitarii. So you can follow those tutorials step by step, shows you the whole process from start to finish and how to achieve the same results that you see here. So just follow those tutorials, just go step by step, following along, and I'll guide you through the whole process, from base colours to washes to finishing touches, chipping effects, transfers, all of that covered in those painting tutorials that I'll guide you through, and you can achieve the same results that you see here. Just follow along one step at a time to get the same results. But that's the models, but I mean these just, the intricate attention to detail on these sculpts is fantastic. So they're quite an army for sure. The Adeptus Mechanicus. So the usual format of these videos, I'm going to bring the units in, we'll gradually build the list up, we'll talk about tactics, loadouts, I'll give you the points values as well. You should see the army list in the video description below, so you're free to copy it exactly. I'll take elements from it and so on. And before we get stuck in here, check out the outpost for discount 40k. If you're looking to expand your Ad Mech army or to get into them, you can get 20% off or more for your Warhammer 40,000 paints, accessories, and so on. So link for them in the video description below. So Adeptus Mechanicus. I've been on the channel for a good while. This is going to be 2,000 points, and the structure is just a battalion. I'm trying to save on CPs here, so I've been restructuring a lot of the armies on the channel, but I'm going to go for just a battalion and spending 1 CP on a relic. That's it. So plenty of command points available, which is very, very useful, especially for some of the potent stratagems that are out there for the Ad Mech. Next is choice of Forge World. So I am going to go stick with Mars. That's how I painted them up anyway, but tactically I'm going to choose Mars as well. So this does need to be an army that's capable of doing all sorts of different things. I need decent firepower from these. I do need units that can move out quickly, and I need close combat stuff. So you're going to see that kind of structure, and then sort of a unique play style, which we'll reveal as we go along with some of the unit choices. So Mars, Dogma, Masters of the Forge. Skitarii units gain Canticles of the Omnispex. Not all units get Canticles of the Omnispex, but once you take Mars, then all the Skitarii units will get Canticles. And then each time you get this Dogma is selected to shoot or fight, so you're getting help with both. You can reroll 1 hit roll, resolving that unit's attacks. So it can be very, very useful, say, for like the Daedalus missile launchers, the one-shot weapon on the Onaga Dune Crawlers. That now becomes, you could reroll that if you choose to. Or if you're fighting in close combat, just a single reroll. But it's just across the board. It's a rule that you're going to remember. It's just that little bit of extra help coming in sort of universally across all of the units. So, happy enough with that. And then you've got a Warlord Trait and Relic, but I'm just going to go down to the Wrath of Mars here. So this is very, very potent. 1 or 2 CP, depending on the power rating. If it's 11 or more, then it's 2 CP, which it's got to be quite a big unit to get that. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase, and the Mars unit selected to shoot. At the end of that phase, each time a model unit makes an attack, unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound. So maximum of 6 mortal wounds, but it means some of the most humble units, if they've got lots and lots of shots, and they can cause 6s to wound, they're going to be kicking out mortal wounds as well. So it's a very, very potent stratagem, very, very useful. And so it's good to have a good number of CP available for every shooting phase. Try and use that stratagem every shooting phase, just to inflict mortal wounds. And it gives some of my more humble units a bit of a sting in the tail. Yeah, there's a couple of units in particular where this is pretty good. So that's that settled. I guess what we should do is go over to here. So yeah, so the way this works, I may have been playing it not fully correct, so do correct me if I get this wrong. So Doctrine and Imperatives, if your arm is Adeptus Mechanicus keyword and so on, yeah, you've got to have a Doctrine Assembler model from your army, which would be something like here, Doctriner Assembler for the Tech Priest Enginseer, or the Tech Priest Dominus that you saw earlier on. You should have it. Yeah, Doctriner Assembler. You need to have that HQ or the unit on the board. And if you do, you get the Doctrine Imperatives, like these orders that are given. You can adjust, shift the army, whichever have these. So you can go for like Protector Imperative, which is +1 ballistic skill, -1 weapon skill, or you can go +1 weapon skill and then -1 ballistic skill, or you can go for a defensive one here. So you get extra +1 to your save, but you lose 3-inch move, or you can gain 3 inches move and then lose 1 to your save. So these are quite useful. There is the downside, the upside to them. But I believe the correct interpretation of these is the unit needs to have that Doctriner Imperatives in their description. So for example, the Tech Priest Dominus doesn't have it, but we'll come back to that in a moment. The Skitarii Marshal does have it. Just giving you a few examples. And then on the troops here, the Skitarii and Rustalkers get Doctrinal Imperatives, so they're affected by it. So too the Skitarii Infiltrators. And then the Rangers get it as well, but not all units get it. So whichever units have that, then they're able to benefit from that. So it's not all units, but there's a good number can. Then you have Canticles of the Omnispex, which is you use these once per game. There's 6 of them. You get things like Shroud Sign, where you get light cover for units that are affected by that. This one's quite good for your shooting. Benediction of the Omnispex, reroll, hit roll, wound roll, and a damage roll each unit. And that's for shooting only. So some pretty good ones in there as well. So then that will tell you if they get Canticles of the Omnispex. So the Tech Priest Enginseer gets it, and it lists it all there for you. And then because I've gone for Mars, Skitarii units with this dogma gain Canticles of the Omnispex. So anything that's Skitarii gets Canticles of the Omnispex. So for example, the Marshal has Doctrinal Imperatives, doesn't get Canticles, but he's Skitarii here, keywords, then he gains, if he's Mars, then he gains Canticles of the Omnispex as well. So I think it works that way. So not all units get it, there's a good number who get either of those, but that's some pretty good bonuses coming through. The ability to, you know, bump your ballistic skill up to 2s, I mean, that's fantastic. So those are all good. So those are good sort of core rules here for the force, but just trying to make sure that it's the right ones that get it. So we'll get stuck into the units that have been taken, I guess in order that we see them. So I was running Belisarius. One of the big changes was running Belisarius Core, but I just found he's 180 points, and I've already got sort of a bit of overload anyway with HQ choices, so I've dumped him. He's actually out of the list. He doesn't feature in this list here. He's alright, but just it wasn't particularly good at anything really. The buffs that he granted were not that amazing. In close combat he's not that amazing. For shooting he's not that amazing, and just I couldn't justify, as amazing as the model is, I just don't see much potency with him. So I've dropped him, replaced him with a brand new unit, which we'll see later on. So for the HQs then, the first up who now take command is the Tech Priest Dominus. So this model here, so he'll act as a mini Belisarius Core for my Ad Mech list. So I'll put him just there. Not too much confidence in this model. He's there just to support a little bit. So you're looking at, there is a 2+ ballistic skill, so it's worth taking advantage of that. He's got 5 wounds, 2 up saves. He's quite durable, but I usually just keep him out of trouble. The Omnispex, he's only 3 attacks, but it's +2 strength, -2 damage. But the usual is he just stays out of close combat and out of trouble. Leave it to other units to do it. He can restore D3 lost wounds from models, 412 models nearby. So that can be vehicles, but also other 412 models. It could be like these guys, for example. The Breachers could restore wounds on those. He's got 5+ invulnerable save. And he grants reroll 1s to core units within 6 inches, so you can help out the infantry and so on. So some buffs going on with him. I keep the standard loadout, which is the Volkite Blaster, range 24, heavy 3, so you guaranteed those 3 shots. If you sit still, it's 2s to hit. Strength 6, AP 0, 2 damage. But any 6s to wound is 2 mortal wounds, so nice little bit of firepower available from him. And he comes in at 75 points in total for him, so cheap enough HQ choice. Not expecting too much from him. It's just to sit there, buff, repair, survive on the board, and that's about it from him. So the next thing that comes up is, yes, he can restore wounds and so on. Gone are the days of the densely packed gun line. You've got to be able to spread out for 9th edition now. So I want to give buffs and bonuses to my vehicles, which used to sort of sit together, but now they're perhaps spread out across the board. So I take a very useful little unit here. It's the Tech Priest Enginseer. I'm going to take 2 of those, 1 and 2. So already liking the idea of this. Like you've got your Tech Priest Dominus and the 2 Tech Priest Enginseer, sort of apprentices and assistants for him. These are very useful little units. 55 points a time. They've got 4 wounds, you've got 3 up to save. The durability is not too bad. They've got 2 attacks. They are equipped with the Omnispex axe. Not that I ever want these in close combat, but they've got a little bit of close combat ability. They've got servo arm as well. And then they've got 5+ invulnerable save. They can restore D3 lost wounds on Forge World models. So usually I would partner these up with my Dune Crawlers. So you'll see that the Tech Priest Enginseer is hanging around with them. So if they start taking damage, they can start restoring wounds. But on top of that, awaken the machine. In your command phase, this model can awake one friendly Forge World vehicle model, excluding Castellan robots, within 3. At the start of the next command phase, each time the model makes an attack, add 1 to attack's hit roll. And you can only be awakened once per turn, but just bump these up to 2s on their ballistic skill. So restoring wounds, buffing the ballistic skill at 55 points a time. Excellent little units, HQ choices. So 2 of those are in. I think they look fantastic, and they'll buddy up with my Dune Crawlers to buff them and repair. So useful for sure. That's pretty much it for HQs. So I've kept my HQ costs right down here compared to other factions, so it frees up points, and this army is quite a bulky army here with a good number of units. So moving on to troops then, I'm running a battalion, need 3 troops. I'm taking 4. So first up is Skitarii Rangers. The way I'm running these will usually sit on objectives or somewhere with good line of sight, is these Ranger squads of 5. So looking something like this. I'm going to propose this list here. This is the list I'm going to run, but I've got some suggestions about future changes and so on that I could bring in. And then you're also welcome to leave your own comments. Also, but Skitarii Rangers. 4 up save for these, skill 2+. This can all be adjusted though, with doctrine and imperatives and so on. So the galvanic rifle, it's been changed. It's range 30, so pretty good reach on this thing. Heavy 2, so sit still, but you get your 2 shots, so you can lay down some pretty good firepower at long range. Strength 4, -1 on 1 damage. I then paid the points. A squad of 5 of those is 45 points. These are cheap infantry units, 45 points. And then I pay 15 points to bury a sniper rifle in there. The Transauronic Arquebus. Yes, it's 15 points, but range 60, fantastic range. Heavy 1, strength 7, -2 and D3 damage. 6 is to wound. Is a mortal wound. You can ignore the lookout Sir roll as well. So it just forces your opponent just to be a bit wary with their characters. That I do have very decent snipers in the list. It's a very powerful sniper weapon. If there's no targets, then they can just go after heavy infantry and vehicles, because you're hitting it, or wounding it, coming in at strength 7 with that. So it's not too bad at all. So the other great thing, because I've taken Mars, that single reroll to hit, I can place it on him when he does his shots. Now you're looking at 3s to hit rerollable, or 2s to hit rerollable. It's a very nice, reliable shot coming through. Yeah. Do you know what? I think they've changed the rules. I'm just looking. Yeah, no, they've changed the rules on this. Previously you had to sit still. If you moved, you couldn't shoot. But I can't see that here. No, it's not in the profile for it anymore. Okay, so you can move. Interesting. So these are manoeuvrable. I'm running 3 units of these. So there's another. Because one's not going to be too scary. 2's not that great, but 3's not bad. If you can crossfire against a character, they could find themselves in a bit of trouble. So pretty good option. And I can crowd these onto objectives, or just way at the back of the board, whatever I need them for. If I need them to do actions and so on, they can do that as well. But 3 sniper teams. They're core unit choices, so the Tech Priest Dominus can help them grant the reroll ones and so on. That's the idea with those. Nice and cheap. The way the points have worked out here with this list, I've had a few spare, so I've given them all Omnispexes, so you're stripping light cover. So if anyone's trying to hide in cover, they'll just strip that away, which can be useful just to keep that the likelihood of them making a save just that bit lower. So Omnispexes also granted to those. So that takes them to 70 points time. per unit. So these are quite soft. There's not much durability with them. They can easily find themselves in a heap of trouble. They can get blown away very quickly, so I wouldn't put too much faith and confidence in them. But, you know, tuck them out of range, out of trouble, snipe from a long distance, hold on to a home objective. That's the kind of job to do with those. So now something a bit more with a bit more substance, a bit more bulky on the board. So now there's Vanguard. We'll come back to them. So Kataphron breaches. These little tankettes. Such unique units available for the Ad Mech. Very, very cool. So I'm going to run a squad of 6, which is the maximum size. So these go just here. These are actually a troop's choice. So now you've got a very tough unit here. Kataphron breaches at movement 6, so they're not too slow, just average. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 4+, strength 5, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 2 up armor save, 3 attacks base. You've got a decent solid profile with them. They are tough and durable. They do attract a fair bit of attention from the opponent. You've got a 6+ invulnerable save for these. And yeah, you can move and there's no minus to hit rolls for shooting heavy weapons. You don't suffer for going, well, you can go through walls, girders, chains, foliage and so on. Yeah, without impediment. So pretty good. And I usually stick these in the centre of the army, just like a solid block type unit, and they'll push forwards. You've got 2 functions. First is shooting. I've switched away from which they're sculpted with, it's a heavy arc rifle, just not too much potency with that. So I've gone for the Torsion cannon, which is a nice range 48, heavy 1, and strength 8, -4, and D3 +3 damage, so a dangerous enough high caliber weapon. And then, because they're sort of breaches, they're pushing forwards, and it's half a chance they're going to be fighting in close combat as they push forwards. Then I've gone for the Hydraulic Claw, which is an excellent weapon, times 2 strength, and fighting at strength 10, -2 and straight 3 damage, no minus to hit rolls, and you've got 3 attacks each. You've got 15 attacks with these in total. No, you haven't. You've got more. You've got 18 attacks with them coming through, so dangerous enough. And I believe they do benefit from the Mars ability of rerolling a single hit roll for shooting and for close combat. Now they're not the most accurate for shooting or combat, but there's reliability there with those, durability with them. The idea is they just survive from one turn to the next, and if you park those on an objective, they'll be pretty hard to shift. So they do attract attention, but often the opponents make a fair bit of effort to eradicate those. Now, I suggest a change now. One change I'm thinking of is just to go more overboard with firepower, leave close combat to other units, and switch over to Kataphron destroyers. So no real close combat ability with these. Around about the same points cost, but perhaps a bit more if I take the plasma culverin. So with that you're getting 2 options. You can go for range 36, heavy D6, strength 7, -3, 1 damage and blast. Very, very dangerous against hordes, exceptionally dangerous. Or you can supercharge, which isn't too bad here. Blast. Each time a modified hit roll of 1 is made for the attack, the bearer's unit suffers a mortal wound. So it's not instant kills on models, which is good. And you can go for strength, heavy D6, strength 8, -3 and 2 damage. Now you've got like vehicle busting ability with that. So that's way better than Torsion cannon. Just the number of shots, because you've got a low ballistic skill. So tons and tons. Imagine 6d6 shots. That's dangerous enough. And you can go against any target. Light, heavy, medium, they'll cause trouble. So I'm liking the idea of the destroyers. Just to go for proper firepower. You don't get as good armor save. It's a 3 up armor save. But you're trading off for some decent firepower. So perhaps that's something to consider in the future. So I've got some soft infantry. I've got a tougher unit across here. Then we'll go back to this unit here. So Skitarii Vanguard. So this time a full squad. Oh, it's not a full squad because you can take up to units of 20 of these, which is crazy. But I've gone for a squad of 10. I'm not expecting too much from these. I'll call out some points values for you as well. So squad of 10 of those, like so. Just love the look of these. Breaches coming in at 210 points and an extra 60 points to the Torsion cannons, so 270 points. That's a full-on investment with them. Then for the Vanguard, here 90 points to the squad of 10, and then Omnispex being granted to those as well, so 100 point unit. The main reason for taking these, they're not that durable, so they'll wither away quite quickly, so usually I'll hide them and then bring them out as I need them. The main reason and combo for these is to take the Radium Carbine, which is Assault 3, so you've got 30 shots coming from this unit, range 18, and then I'll combine that as an ambush unit and use the Wrath of Mars on them, so 30 shots come through and then just go hunting for those 6s to wound, to cause mortal wounds, is the main idea with them. Yeah. So you can go for plasma calibers. Yeah. If you take the plasma caliber, it's 10 points a time. But I've just gone for tons of Dakar and just playing it with the stratagem instead. So that's the focus for those. But I usually use them as like an ambush type unit. So they'll be amongst the gun line, but they'll hide and tuck away. And then as I need them, I'll pull them around, and they can just unleash a volley from their Radium Carbines. That's sort of the idea with those. So cheap enough infantry unit being added. So I've got like some backline units, some mid-table advancing units here, an ambush unit, and some HQ so far. Okay, so not too bad. I wouldn't say there's anything too deadly in here yet, but I guess the breaches are dangerous enough. But I need stuff that's gonna punch well. So we'll move on to elites, which I've heavily invested in. So perhaps one of my favourite units is the Infiltrators. They're so cool. They just look absolutely fantastic. The whole concept of them. So, and we'll cover the rules for them in just a moment. So we'll put these, we'll go over here with these. I'm gonna have to, this army is quite bulky. I think these look better over here. I'll create a bit of space. These Infiltrators. I'll put these in. So I've taken a squad. You can go for smaller squads actually, squads of 5, but I've gone for squads of 10. I think Games Workshop sell them in packs of 5, I believe. So there we go. Squad of 10. Now, you're looking at 190 points for a full squad. You can go for different loadouts with these. And I've chosen Flechette Blasters and Taser Goads. And a specific strategy for using these in the game. So this is one of my kamikaze suicide type units, so I'll use these and throw them in immediately. Usually is the plan with these. So you've got an 8-inch move, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, their strength 4 base, toughness 3, 2 wounds each, 2 attacks base, and a 4-up save. They do have a 5+ invulnerable save, which will help them when they fight against tougher targets. Do get the doctrine imperatives and so on. They've got a little bit of defensive stuff. They've got neurostatic interference. Each time attack is made against this unit, if the attacking model is within 12 inches, that you can't reroll hit rolls and wound rolls against them. It's easily forgotten that one in games, but well worth remembering. Then you've got this -1 to leadership in 3 inches to the enemy as well. And then infiltrating positions is the main one. So during deployment, you can set this unit up. It can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and enemy models. So there is the opportunity to go for the early grab here. So I can use them tactically, just to grab an objective quickly, just position them in place. Or, which I've been trying out recently, is to go ultra aggressive and deploy them right at the enemy, just as tight as I can. Pick a target, say a screening unit or a vehicle to tie up, or something to bring down, and then just deploy as close as I can, keeping just over 9 inches away from enemy models and their deployment zone. And then if you can get that close, you've then got an 8-inch move, so you can get up to just over 1 inch away immediately with these. So you can go hyper aggressive, which is what I've been doing. If it all goes wrong and the opponent goes first and they get to you and so on, they've got to try and chew their way through these units. They're quite big, It's 2 wounds per model, 5 of Invuln save, so there's a fair bit to try and get rid of, and it'll block the path of the opponent usually pushing through. If you do get to go first, then you can hatch your ambush and immediately get stuck in. Then once these go in and cause disruption, you're disrupting your opponent's plan, it's delaying their response and their battle plan. They're having to immediately deal. You know, you're taking the initiative in a game and forcing your opponent to react to a quick assault. So tactically useful, and to the point where I've taken a second squad just freshly painted up. So I've now got the 2 options with these, and the ability to, and usually I'll deploy these last. So I watch the opponent deploying their stuff, I'll put out all of my minor units and so on, just gradually putting them around the table, then watch and watch and watch, and then wait, and then deploy these. So, and just to create a headache for the opponent, which seems to work. It's sort of a nightmare to deal with. To deal with them, you're sort of getting the opponent to work to your own plan instead of just leaving them free to do what they want to do. So there's the other squad just there, so that's the squad of 10, so you've got 20 of them. So it's double the amount of stuff the opponents deal with. So the taser goes, you're starting at strength 4, you get +2 on top of that, so now you're at strength 6. You've got a bit of AP minus going on there as well, and then any 6s to hit pops 2 additional hits as well, so you really can plaster a target with loads of hits coming through. You're going to be wounding most infantry on 2s and 3s, which is great. For vehicles, you can just tie them up in close combat and still cause some damage because you're coming at strength 6. And then for Mars, I just combine that with the Wrath of Mars. So I use my Flechette blasters, which is a strange weapon, range 12, pistol 5. So each unit is 50 shots coming through. Could be hitting on 3s or 2s. And then you're just searching for those 6s to wound to cause mortal wounds. So now you're in a situation where you could soften the target up with mortal wounds coming through. Or you can fire at a different target and hit them with mortal wounds and tons of shots coming through, and then charge into something else. So you've got that nice flexibility. So you've got that real sting in the tower, those now, with the ability to cause the mortal wounds for Wrath of Mars. So I'm liking the idea of those. If half the time you're not going to go first, so what's the plan? Well, they just act as a roadblock, forcing the opponent to deal with them, whilst it provides a bit of cover for the rest of your army. If you've got decent firepower coming through, then I can. That's going to be deflected away. The opponent's attention is going to be forced to deal with those. And it's a fair bit of effort to get rid of them. If you do go first, then you've got the choice of plunging in against the targets that you'd lined up to go after. Or you can go tactical, and I can deploy these on objectives and hide them and act as more of a delayed speed bump, so I can hold back, say, the middle section of the board, hide with them, and then as the opponent gets closer, I can perhaps move them out and shoot and charge, and so on. So, but flexibility, which is a great asset to have, and a brilliant theme to have 2 big infiltrating units. Just a really nice theme for the army. So a sort of unique play style for the Ad Mech. So Infiltrators are in. Then Rustalkers have been in and out of the list. They've been popular, not popular, but I think they're pretty good. So Rustalkers are in as well. These are 180 points. So I take a full squad of 10 of these. Now these can't infiltrate, but I will use them as a support unit. These 2 are tangled up. They are intricate models for sure. So I'll put those in there if you can still see them just about on camera. So that's them. So the army's bulking out really well. But another elite unit. 180 points for these. They're still nice and quick though for movement. So I'll use these as like a counter-punch unit to come out from behind the lines and to attack. Or I'll deploy them where they can move up and scuttle and hide behind something. Or I can deploy them where these are forwards, and then deploy back at the edge of my deployment zone is the Rustalkers. So if I lose turn 1 and the opponent goes after my Infiltrators and kills them, then I'm going to send these in as a backup to counter-punch. Like a counter-punch type unit. They are geared exclusively for close combat. So you've got your movement 8, weapons combat skill of 3+, strength 4. You've got 2 wounds, 3 attacks based on these, plenty of attacks, extra attack for the squad leader. 4 up save, 5+ invuln as per usual. You can get, each time a ranged attack is allocated to model this unit whilst it's receiving the benefits of cover, you get 1 to your armor saving throw. So in light cover, like runes, you're going to 2 up armor save, which is pretty cool. This unit can ignore any roll modifiers to its move characteristic, the exception that incurred due to the depreciation effect of bulwark imperative, so it can move slip through terrain nice and quickly, which is very, very useful. Yeah. And the loadout. So what you get with these is, I've gone for the Cord Claw and Transauronic Razor. So what you get with that is the Cord Claw gives you an extra attack, so you've got 3 attacks plus this one. It makes 1 additional attack with this weapon, and it's coming in at strength for AP -1 damage. Then the main one, that is the scary one here, is the Transauronic Razor. Strength to the user, AP -2, 1 damage, and any 6s to wound is a mortal wound, in addition to any normal damage. So, excellent. And it's at this point I want to mention a couple of stratagems, just so you can get the most out of these. So, yep. So you can go for machine superiority as one for either of these units here. Each time a Skitarii unit army is selected to fight in the fight phase, you can add 1 to your strength characteristic. So you can go up to strength 5 with these, or strength 7 with these. You can also use assassin construct, 1 CP. These ones I'm commonly using here to just buff these elite units. In the fight phase against a current unit from your army selected to fight, if it made a charge move or performed heroic intervention, you get +1 attack. Excellent. So it's really going to help out either of these 2 units. And there's another one. Yes. Yeah, Chain Taser Protocols. Again, just costing you 1 CP. When an Ad Mech unit from your army selected to fight until the end of that phase, each time this unit makes an attack with a taser weapon, he's got the taser goads, then 5s and 6s pop for 2 extra hits. So at that critical point where you're going into combat and you really want to do well, you want to wipe the unit out, cause as much damage as possible, then you can just stack up some stratagems to give you +1 strength, 5s and 6s popping extra hits with those, an extra attack just coming through for the unit. So well worth it when you've got larger units to get the most out of those stratagems. So yes, I've got some gunline type stuff here, but I've got some, I think, some pretty potent elite choices to fight in close combat. That would be the main close combat stuff for my army. Then going on to fast attack. So I'm going to bring in 2 models which I think are going to be standing for what I might paint up later on. So Sydonian Dragoons, which they look very, very cool. There's one. These big prancing chickens. So there's one. I'll put him there. I'll tuck those in there. And there's a second one. So I'll take these as 2 separate units. You've got 4 attacks base on them. 10-inch moves. They're nice and quick. Usually I'll plant these on the flanks and they'll just swing around. And I can use them for things like the control of table quarters or going after objectives, tapping into units like vehicles and so on, just to distract. So that's the kind of use for them. The Taser Lance gives you +3 strength, you're fighting at strength 8, -2 damage, 6s pop 2 additional hits, so they're not too bad in close combat. We do have the Incense Cloud, it's -1 to hit them. They've got 3 up saves, 6 wounds, there's no damage profile with them, and they've got 6+ invulnerable save as well. So they're alright. Points wise, with the Taser Lance, they are 70 points a time. Now I've been advised, and I can see the wisdom in it, is to swap the Sydonian Dragoons out and to pay a few more points and take the Iron Strider Ballastarii here. So same kind of profile, they're nice and quick, but instead of the close combat option, have them flank and scoot around the board and so on, but to carry the las cannons here. The twin Cognis las cannon, which is pretty good. Assault 2, range 48. So it's assault as well, so you can even advance and still shoot with these. Strength 9, AP -3 and D3 +3 damage. Combine that with Mars, where you could be hitting on 3s or even 2s and then re-rolling 1 for Mars. Really good. And combine that with the Canticles, where you can re-roll a hit roll, wound roll and a damage roll. You've got real good potential with these. So keep them out of trouble, way off on the flanks, and they can just pick away with their laser cannons, range 48 inches, a really good firepower support. They don't need anyone buffing and bonusing and helping them nearby. They can just go and do their own thing, and they can prance around the table, just providing that decent firepower support. So I'm liking the idea of them. I think they're a bit more expensive, but I can adjust the list. I can drop the Omnispexes to free up a good amount of points to compensate for that. I actually have the models as well, so I could build and paint these up. 75 points. I did take a points increase, and then to give the laser cannons, it's an extra 10, so 85 points instead of 70. So there's an extra 30 points I'd need. And to do that, I could just drop the Omnispex, so that's sorted out. If I took those, it just ups my firepower support with a couple of mobile shooting units. But for now, I run the Dragoons. Then, yeah, we're not quite into heavy yet, because I've got a new unit. Quite excited about these. Skitarii Sulphor Hounds. So I'll put them in, or run them here. So Cavalry. Fantastic sculpts from Games Workshop. And I'm thinking, I've got some finishing touches, so I'll finish the basing on these and a bit more paintwork, but Cavalry are in. One of the newer sculpts, been around for a while, one of the newer sculpts from Games Workshop. We'll take a look at these because I think these are so cool. So really I think these work out 180 points. So they're a straight swap for Belisarius. Of course, I've dropped that bloaty, semi-useless HQ choice. I've gone for a squad of 6 Sulphur Hounds instead. So now I've got a real nice quick unit that can manoeuvre around the board, and I can manoeuvre them into position to let loose of a pretty effective volley of short range firepower. So you can go up to squads of 9, so you could add 3 more to this unit. And what I was thinking is you could do a really good Ad Mech themed cavalry brigade type army. I'm not sure if anyone's done that yet. I've not really seen that out there, but you could run, rule of 3. You could run 3 squads of 9 of those. You could then run 3 squads of the Cerberus Raiders, go up to squads of 9 as well. So you've got brilliant sort of cavalry feel to it. And your firepower support could be all the Balistarii and Dragoons prancing around, assisting those as cavalry units. And you've got yourself like a cavalry themed army, which would look absolutely fantastic. So with these, I'll call out the points on them for you, just to give you an idea. So the Sulphur Hounds, they're 20 points each. It's not too bad really. You see the profile for them. You take the Arquebus and the squad leader, which is what I've done, is 5 points. And then the Blast Carbines, I've taken 2. They're 10 points a time. And it looks like you have to pay for the Phosphor Blast pistols. No. They're just 1 Phosphor Blast pistol and the squad leader, I believe. Yeah, Blast pistol. Yeah. So another 5 points. By my calculations, that's 180 points for those. I love that cavalry brigade idea. If anyone's done that, do let me know in the comment section below and how effective they are. But maxing out on your cavalry, so you're basically looking at 6 squads of 9. And then to go with the cavalry theme, just taking the squads of these and the Balistarii as well for your firepower support and how well that would work. And it just looked great. The formation then would look fantastic. So just got just having visions almost sort of Lord of the Rings type cavalry action, just having a daydream. So movement 12, so they are super quick around the table. Weapon skill 4+, but you're taking them for shooting, so ballistic skill 3+. They are actually toughness 4 and 2 wounds each, 2 attacks base, and 4+ save. They give you a 5+ invulnerable save, which is really cool. Do you get the Doctrine Imperatives? They are Skitarii as well, so they can get some nice buffs and bonuses going on. They've got Pistoliers. Each time this unit advances, until the end of the turn, the type characteristic of pistol weapons equipped with is changed to Assault. Models in this unit are eligible to shoot with any assault weapons they're equipped with in a turn in which they shot pistol weapons. So there's no restriction there. Usually you can't shoot like the 2, pistol and assault, but you can with these. They all count as assault as well if you're advancing firing the pistol weapons. And they do get the rad saturation rule as well, so if you get within range, engagement range, and it's -1 strength and toughness. Interesting. So you could use them as a support unit to plunge into a combat whilst another unit takes them on. Yes, interesting. Okay, so cavalry, harassing, disruptive type unit, and then a blanket of firepower available from these. So the blast carbine, which I've taken 2, that gives you range 18, assault 2d3, strength 5, -1 damage and blast, and they don't get dense cover. So it's a good number of shots. I would take these against hordes to clear away screens, move the cavalry out, clear the screens. So skirmish type unit, which is very sort of cavalry style. Then the blast pistol, which is on the squad leader, is range 12, pistol D3, strength 5, -1 damage, blast. And again, you don't get dense cover. The phosphor pistols, they get 1 each on these 2 models. So just 1 shot at a time, range 12, strength 4, -1 damage. Again, you don't get dense cover. And then you do get clawed limbs, so +1 strength. Each time the bearer fights, makes 2 additional attacks with this weapon, so that's the mechanical horse. So now you've got 2 attacks base plus another 2 coming through. And then the thing that sealed the deal for me on these is the horses fire flames out of their mouths. So you get sulphur breath, which is range 12, pistol D6, strength 4, -2 AP, 1 damage, and it's auto hits on the target. So now I've got 6 D6 auto hits coming in at strength 4, -2. That's absolutely fantastic. Now what's interesting is a lot of pistols going on here, which means you can fire them whilst you're in close combat. The other thing is Overwatch. If the opponent charges them, you could hit them with 6 D6 auto hits for Overwatch. So they're a quirky, they're an interesting little unit, these ones, that could really cause some trouble. Again, I'm just daydreaming again, cavalry. Add a full squad of those, you're looking at well over 200 points, and then you times that by 6. You're going to fill out an army pretty quick, actually. I don't know how durable the army would be, though. It'd be like a light cavalry army, so it wouldn't be too durable. But Sulphur Hounds are in. Nice opportunity to try out a new unit. So running a squad of 6 of those, I could split them perhaps into 2, but not for the battalion because I've already running 2 separate dragoons. But a squad of 6 of them, and for clearing hordes, I can manoeuvre, swing them out quickly, and then just lay down a blanket of firepower, especially against the sort of light infantry. Would, I think, be particularly effective. So that's the Sulphur Hounds. So then, the last unit is the Dune Crawler's always been a massive fan of these. So these are my nice vehicles here with their lovely banners fluttering in the wind, just encouraging the Skitarii army to hold its ground. So there's one. I'll place one at the back there and just tuck this other one. Just tuck it in here. So there he is, just there. So it bulks the army out nicely. Just love the look of these things. As now they're being buffed by the Tech Priest Enginseers. They're being given +1 to their ballistic skills, so they're usually hitting on 2s. You've got Mars, so you're rolling a single hit roll as well for shooting, so you should get some nice reliable firepower from them. I've always been in controversy here with these because I've always stuck to the. They don't really yeah. They don't name it anymore. It used to be like, it was called like a, it was a cluster of weapons and it was named, I can't remember what it was named, it was named something, but now it's all just put down as the description for the weapon. So the model is Eradication Beamer. So I've swapped out the Eradication Beamer. And I'll just give you, again, points ideas. So these are very, very cheap. On a Dune Crawler, 115 points, nice cheap vehicle. The Cognitive Heavy Stubber, if you take it's 5 points, I don't bother. So 115 points, whatever loadout you decide to go for. It's very, very cheap for a vehicle. We'll come to the weapons in just a moment. So you get 8-inch moves, not that slow, really. Weapon skill 5+, ballistic skill 3+, strength 6, toughness 7, 11 wounds. So they're as tough and equipped as a tank. 3 attacks, but you don't ever want them in combat, and a 3-up save. What makes them better than usual vehicles is you get a 5+ invulnerable save for the Eminentus force field. There's no funny rules, you have to be near each other, you just get a straight 5-up invuln save, and that's against shooting and close combat. They get Doctrine Imperatives, they get Skitarii as well, so I can adjust and bless and bonus them pretty good. So I'm a big fan of these. Now, I had dropped out the neutron laser which is, I'm not going to say it's not a good weapon, it is a decent weapon. Range 48, heavy D3, strength 12, -4 D3 plus 3 damage and blast. But I wanted a loadout that was more general purpose. I could fire at heavy targets, but could also fire at medium, light infantry and so on. So, you do have the armor punching ability, but if you have to deal with heavy infantry, medium infantry, you can. If you've got to try and deal with hordes, then you can. I like that versatility with them. If they all coordinate their firepower, they cause trouble for anything. So I'm still going to stick to that loadout. So yeah, you do. I'll just cover this. This model can be equipped with one of the following. You don't have to pay for this. You've got the broad spectrum data tether. So Skitarii core units within 6 inches until the start of the next command phase. You get +1 leadership. Or you can take smoke launchers, you get the smoke screen ability, so you can pop smoke with them. Interesting. Yeah. So anyway, the weapon loadout you can go for then is, you can go for one of the following. So Daedalus missile launcher, Gatling rocket launcher and Twin Icarus autocannon, it's all in one option. The neutron laser or the twin hydrogen heavy phosphor blaster. So the phosphor blasters range 36, heavy 8, strength 6, -2 damage. Don't get dense cover. The downside of that is you're restricting yourself, because that's a certain type of weapon. You know, it's good against killing Primaris type stuff, but it's all right. But I just like this one here. So the first bit you get is the Daedalus missile launcher. So range 48, fantastic range on this. You really can just sit these right back. They're great for plonking on objectives and just laying down firepower. So Daedalus missile launcher, range 48, heavy 1, strength 7, -3 D6 damage. You get +1 to hit roll against aircraft, but usually hitting on a nice high rate with those anyway. Then on top of that, because that's D6 damage, that's dangerous enough. Then on top of that, you've got the Twin Icarus autocannon, heavy 4, so you've got 4 more shots coming through, strength 7, -1, 2 damage, again +1 against aircraft. And then as well as that, you also get the Gatling rocket launcher, heavy 5, strength 6, -2, 1 damage, and then +1 against aircraft as well. I just love the look of these things as well. Just this, the autocannons, Daedalus, the larger missile, and the Gatling rocket, all coming from this box type thing up here. Big fan of them. So the idea of those would just be to keep them alive from one turn to the next. I think they're pretty durable for vehicles. You've got the invuln save, the repairability on them. Just plenty of wounds, decent save and so on. And then they're just one turn after the next, just laying down that grinding firepower. So they're not going to one-shot, one-kill stuff like other factions can do. But if they can certainly grind away from one turn after the next and cause trouble for just about any target really. So a big fan of those for sure. Couldn't really rely on one to do very much, but I take the 3. It looks very cool. And if they can coordinate their firepower, they'll cause trouble. Any unit on the board, I think, in one turn of firepower, if all 3 can fire at them, then I think will cause trouble. Yeah, because if you think about it, you'll have 3 D6 damage shots, 12 autocannon shots, and 15 Gatling rocket launcher shots. And they potentially come through at exceptionally reliable rate, you know, 3s, 2s to hit. There's rerolls potentially going through there, rerolls potentially to wound coming through. You've got the right canticles in play. So I think the potential is there for them for sure. That is the list here for the Adeptus Mechanicus, bulking out the screen quite nicely. That is 2,000 points of Adeptus Mechanicus. So the plan is to enter these into the league to see how well they get on, and the basing's done across the board here. So the army's been revamped nicely, got new units coming in, got more units planned as well. So it's good to see the Ad Mech back. I had kept them on the shelf for a while, but I thought no, it's time to get them revamped. I wasn't keen on the basing previously, so stripped them down and rebased, and then restructured, new codex, new points adjustments, and then starting to feed in some new units as well. I'm still hunting for an exact theme and strong play style with these. There's new stuff to work on. There's experiment to do with the Cavalry, the new tactic for the Infiltrators to work on, but gradually sort of getting a stronger theme. By all means, leave your own comments and suggestions. What units would you take out of this list? What units would you add in? What configurations would you change, and so on? And do leave that in the comments section. There's one thing I've forgotten, which I should mention if you're going to copy this list. I did say I'd spent a point on a Relic. It's actually really important. So it's the Technocopia. There is a strategy that lets you give it to an alpha model. So I actually give it to the Rustalker Princeps here. Give that to him for his squad. It's quite straightforward. At the start of the fight phase, you can select an enemy unit within 3. This unit is not eligible to fight this phase until all other units have done so. So you're shutting an enemy unit down. That could prove a game changer for this unit across here. It means that they're shutting a target down. It can help out other units, so you're going in with other close combat units just to get all of your attacks in before that unit gets a chance to strike back. It's going to stop interrupt play taking place as well. So a very important one on Technocopia, and just to 1 CP, well worth adding that in. And I've given it to the Princeps for the Rustalkers. But that's the list here for the Adeptus Mechanicus. Do check out the painting tutorials. There's a full codex review on the channel as well, where I go through the whole book, so you can check that out as well. Just to see the lowdown on all the units that are available for the Adeptus Mechanicus. But that's the video. Do check out the channel sponsors. If you've been inspired to get into Adeptus Mechanicus, then you can get these discounted at the Outpost, which is based in the UK. If your order's large enough, you get your discount. You also get free postage, and if you're over in the European Union, if your order's large enough for most of the destinations, you can get free postage as well, just to help keep the cost of the hobby down. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.